Hello and welcome to Bowl Cafe. Welcome to this video. You might recognize this setting here from one of my recent videos, the video that I filmed a few years ago where I was reacting to finding out that I was going bald and I was going to lose my hair. Now, if you haven't seen that video, I'll put the card up in the top there. Go ahead, watch that one, and then come back here to this video. That was a really important video for me to share with you guys. I left that one raw, I didn't edit it or anything. So in this video, I wanted to elaborate more. I wanted to talk a bit more about how I really felt at that time and the time after that video was filmed, because things got a lot worse before they finally started to get better. And now the idea behind me filming this video now is in the hope that maybe you watching this video, you're struggling to deal with the hair loss, and I hope that by myself talking about how I really felt during that time, you can realize that you're not the only one going through this. Loads and loads of guys struggle with this, and I hope that it might give you the confidence to maybe open up, talk to someone about it, or at the very least just acknowledge that you're having those feelings, that you feel down about it and things like that, because that acknowledgement and kind of reaching out, accepting the way you feel about it is going to be the first step to finally getting over it and beating it and just becoming confident with how you look and, with no hair. And of course, if you don't feel comfortable reaching out to your own friends, family, things like that, I've got the ebook. Go ahead and download that one, the free ebook. The link will be in the description box. And of course, you can always send me a direct message over on Instagram. Again, the link down in the description. Anyway, let's go ahead. Let's get started. I'm going to include a few clips from that video here now, just to give this video a bit of context.
I don't know why I'm so worried about it, but I am.
So the first thing you can see that I just felt so unsure about this situation. I had no idea how this was going to change my life. I felt really uncertain, and I was thinking all these crazy, irrational thoughts about how this was going to completely turn my life upside down. I literally thought everything was going to change just because I was going to lose my hair.
I feel gutted about it. I spoke to my dad, but he just accept it. Sweet. There's obviously worse things that can happen. True.
You can also see at the time I was given really solid advice. My dad said to me, just don't worry about it, get on with it, there's worse things that could happen, which is solid advice, right? It's similar advice that I give to people now. But I accept at the time when you're dealing with it, I didn't want to hear that. It offered me no comfort whatsoever. I just didn't want to hear it, and I was just thinking the worst. I was thinking, okay, fair enough, there's worse things that could be happening, but like what? And I'm not dealing with those things. I'm dealing with the hair loss. So that's the most important thing to me right now. Again, at the time, it's kind of out of context, because for you right there, then and then, that is the worst thing that's happening to you.
I don't know, so who the fucking wants to go out with a bold fucking foreigner? That look, no offence, but that's what I'm going to end up on. I don't like that look. I don't like that look. Simple as that. I think it looks weird. Doesn't look nice. It looks creepy. That creepy fucking guy with no hair. I don't want to be that guy.
Now again, one of these irrational thoughts that I had, I just thought I was going to look like this sort of old, creepy clown looking man, with the classic, thinning hair, just weird, really long and just ugly and old. I just had all these visions of these types of people, just typical. Again, you don't even see these types of people, but for some reason I thought I was going to look like that, just really odd, peculiar, old. Again, I was just thinking the worst and thinking irrationally.
But I think I kind of care about what I look like. That's why I go to the gym and stuff.
And you can see there too, at the time, I took a lot of pride in my appearance. I thought, I looked half decent. I was proud of the way I looked. I was fine. I was comfortable with how I looked, and I didn't want it to change. I was fearful of change. And I think a lot of people struggle with that. They fear the change. They're fine with how they are. They're comfortable doing the same sort of things, looking the same way, and anything that's going to throw that off or, throw things out of balance, they're going to be afraid of it. And as was I was really fearful of the change.
I feel very deflated at the moment. Like really sad. I feel sad about it. I think that's the main thing. I just feel super sad. Like I actually want to cry.
And as you can see there, I felt awful. I just felt this horrible sense of like sadness. I didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't know what to think. I didn't know where to sort of look to next for any sort of advice or anything. I kind of felt alone. And I felt like there wasn't really a lot of people around me that were dealing with the same thing that I was having to deal with. And I kind of felt a bit isolated by it and just really sad. I honestly did feel like crying, and I remember after filming that video I went to walk my dog just to kind of, you know, get some fresh air or whatever, and I honestly was just so close to just crying about it. The sort of sadness overcame me, and I felt like crying. I really did. And what's even worse is for things to get better, things actually did get worse, and I felt more sad and more preoccupied by it, more obsessed by it, and things really did have to get worse. I had to kind of hit that rock bottom before I could sort of bounce back up and get to where I am now today, of course. And it got so bad, and you know, I've talked a little bit about this before, but never really delved into that detail. People would often, you know, you get eye contact in the streets and things like that. And for the first time, I would just avoid all eye contact with people. I didn't want people to kind of acknowledge me, because I felt like if they kind of paid attention to me, I kind of risked the fact that people might notice that I was losing my hair. And I was just so afraid that someone was going to notice. I just tried to avoid sort of contact or eye contact with people, anyone really, people in the street, things like that. But the worst that it got, I've mentioned the thing about being in my class and I would try to sit against the wall, but honestly, the worst it got is I'm about 6 foot, just over 6 foot. And when you're walking around normally like this, your crown is sort of here. So if anyone's, you know, about as tall as you, or maybe taller than you, which luckily not so many people are here as tall as me, but especially sort of in England and America, you know, a lot of people of all heights and whatnot, the crown is sort of towards the back of your head, and that is where I was losing my hair. And so this is, honest to God, what I would do is if I was walking down the street, I would sort of I would constantly walk sort of looking at the ground. This is one, to kind of avoid eye contact with people, and two, this would mean that, and this is ridiculous, but this is where it got to, that would mean that if I'm walking normally now, and that would mean that the crown is at the very top, as high as I could get it, so that people had less chance of kind of noticing it and spotting it. But that meant I would constantly walk around just sort of looking at the ground, all sort of slumped over and sad. And that was really when it hit rock bottom for me, when I found that when I noticed that I was doing that, combined with constantly playing with it and trying to make sure it was, you know, neatly covered. That really was my rock bottom, when I found out that I was sort of subconsciously walking around with my head down, staring at the ground, which I'd never done before. I'd never ever been like that. I would have walked down the street, head held high, you know, shoulders back, looking at everyone, saying hello to random people. And for the first time in my life, I was walking around sort of all sad and, you know, staring at the ground, and I just couldn't. Luckily for me, this went on, you know, for a month or so, a few months, and I just realized that I couldn't carry on like that. You can't walk around with that sort of self-esteem, that sort of just gloom hanging over you. And luckily, you know, we know what happened. I decided to take action, and I've climbed my way up, you know, taking action, shaving it off for me. That was just hugely successful for me. You know, it works for a lot of guys too. That's why I push it so much here at Bald Cafe, or at least just try to introduce the concept to as many people as I can. But there you go. This is, of course, talking about the negative ways that the baldness affected me, elaborating on them, with the idea that the viewer, maybe you watching this video, can kind of, maybe you felt the same and you can feel happy now that you've also overcome it, which is fantastic. fantastic. But maybe you are at that point, right, where I was. And I just want to show you and tell you, you can see from my other videos that it does get better, okay? Those feelings, they don't last forever. There's ways that you can beat it. Again, I've got the ebook. I've got so many videos now about this topic. We got the podcast, of course, and I'm here to make loads more videos and open up this dialogue. That's what this video is about. I want you to kind of just feel comfortable and acknowledging the fact that lots of people go through this same problem. And I really think by kind of acknowledging it and thinking about it, those are the first steps to overcoming it. So if you're watching this now and you're worrying about your hair loss, just know that you can get through it. I want to thank you so much for watching, and be on the lookout for part 2 of this video, which is going to be the positive ways that balding affected my life. I'm really excited to make that video. So if you're not subscribed yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss that video. Again, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.